Today, we're going to learn about negative sentences with must, should, have to, can, and need to. Let's start with negative sentences with must. To form the negative form of must, we simply put the word not after must. So it becomes must not. And the contraction of must not is mustn't. Must not is used to prohibit an action or activity. That is, to tell someone not to do something. Look at these examples. You mustn't walk on the grass. He mustn't smoke in here. We mustn't park in the front of the entrance. You mustn't forget Jane's birthday. She mustn't lose that book. It's not hers. We mustn't tell anybody. It's a secret. You mustn't whistle in church. It's disrespectful. She mustn't talk with her mouth full. It's rude. They mustn't play in the street. It's dangerous. Now, let's move on to the negative sentences with should. The negative form of should is also formed by putting not after should. The contraction of should not is shouldn't. It is used to give advice. It is not as strong as mustn't. For example, you shouldn't walk on the grass. He shouldn't smoke in here. We shouldn't park in the front of the entrance. You shouldn't forget Jane's birthday. Sometimes it's good to give a reason for your advice. For example, she shouldn't lose that book. It's not hers. We shouldn't tell anybody. It's a secret. Let's take a look at the negative sentences with have to. Now, the negative form of the verb have to is formed by adding the auxiliary verb do or does and then placing the word not before the verb have to. The contractions are don't have to and doesn't have to. Do not have to and does not have to are used to indicate that something is not necessary. For example, you don't have to worry. It's all right. I don't have to work on Saturday. He doesn't have to go by bus. He's got a car. She doesn't have to study. She knows it. We don't have to wear a uniform. You don't have to finish today. Do it tomorrow. They don't have to work. They are rich. What about negative sentences with can? The negative form of the verb can is formed by adding the word not after can. So it becomes cannot. And the contraction of cannot is can't. It is used to say that something is not possible or that someone doesn't have the ability to do something. For example, you can't walk on the grass. He can't smoke in here. He can't park in the front of the entrance. She can't treat me like this. They can't sack you. We can't miss the wedding. Finally, we'll look at the negative sentences with need to. And finally, the negative form of the verb need to is first formed by adding the auxiliary verb do or does and then placing the word not before the verb need to, becoming do not need to or does not need to. The contractions are don't need to and doesn't need to. Do not need to and does not need to are used to say that it is not necessary to do something. They are very similar to don't have to and doesn't have to. Look at these examples. You don't need to hurry. There's plenty of time. I don't need to pay until the end of the month. He doesn't need to wash the car. It isn't dirty. We don't need to take an umbrella. It isn't raining. They don't need to wait outside. Tell them to come in.